Welcome to the LynnCAM TV Show, a program which focuses on organizations, municipalities, nonprofits, and issues affecting the city of Lynn. Here with me today to discuss MEMA, which is the Massachusetts Emergency Management Agency, we have Peter Judge, a Public Information Officer. Peter, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, Sean.
All right, so we're here to absolutely talk about your organization, MEMA. Recently, you guys have developed a new app called Massachusetts Alerts. It's a free app. It's available on the Play Store, whether you have Android or Apple. You can absolutely 100% download it at mass.gov/MEMA, MEMA/mobile app. We'll get into that a little bit later, but Peter, I want to focus on you. I want to learn a little bit about you, who you are, and what your responsibilities over are at MEMA.
Okay, thanks, Sean. I've been with the agency for almost, 15 years now. My job is Public Information Officer, and that job basically, when things aren't going badly, I get an opportunity to do shows like this and reach out to the public and talk about our agency, talk about preparedness, talk about safety, those sorts of things. But the main focus of my job is when things aren't going well. I am basically the spokesperson for the state, particularly our agency, when there's a disaster or an emergency that takes place. A lot of times you'll see the governor down in the bunker in Framingham, and that's where I work on a day-to-day basis. So when I'm there, usually I'm the media person there, so I do a lot of interviews and basically give people the latest and greatest relative to their safety and how we can best deal with any sort of disaster or emergency.
It's a lot of responsibility that you have to assume, especially that you're addressing the public. So, I mean, I think they say the number one fear is public speaking. I wouldn't really consider this public speaking because there's nobody in here. There's just cameras. So we're lucky for that. But we know our viewership's at home checking us out. But essentially what it is it's PR for safety. I mean, and it's an important realm, really, when it comes to public safety, especially nowadays. Population is rising. It's not going to be decreasing anytime. And it's your responsibility to make sure that everybody who is within the state of Massachusetts knows what to do in an emergency. So a lot of responsibility on your end. Let's talk about MEMA, Massachusetts Emergency Management Agency. You guys are located in Boston. What is your function? What do you do? What do you set out to achieve?
Actually, we're located in Framingham. Is the headquarters. We do have 3 regional offices throughout the state, northeast part of the state. We have an office in Tewksbury, southeast part of the state down in Bridgewater, and then central and western Mass out in Agawam. And as an agency, we really go back to the Federal Civil Defense Act of 1950.
Okay.
We've been around in some form or other since then. Over the years, because the Cold War sort of disseminated, went away. We then became more of a civil defense agency to more of a emergency management and dealing with events that occur today.
Okay.
Basically, our calling, our responsibility is to prepare for, respond to, and recover from any emergency or disaster in the Commonwealth.
I'd like to pick your brain a little bit about some of these past emergencies that may have popped up. We know living in New England, wintertime is an important time of the year to prep for. We're even going to get into prepping later on, but I do want to speak to you a little bit, like just open discussion about infrastructure and how important soft infrastructure is. Whether or not anybody at home understands what infrastructure is, it's kind of broken into 2 parts. You have hard infrastructure versus soft infrastructure. Hard infrastructure can be represented by roads, railways, permanent structures, and then soft infrastructure is more or less rules, regulations, procedure. So when it comes down to roads and rails and what everybody really experiences, there's a whole second part of it that's 100% just as important. So soft infrastructure, especially at any state level, I mean, any state, it's going to be prevalent, and it's important to talk about this. I want to talk a little bit about prepping. Yes, prepping for an emergency. So before we get too much in the app, for people who are at home, maybe they don't have cellular devices, I mean, what can they do in their own time for prepping? Water, food, clothing, shelter, all that's important. Is there anything else that they can do?
Yeah, well, year-round, we tell people what should you have in place in case you get isolated in your home for a 2 or 3 day period without power and unable to travel. Whether it's in summer because of a hurricane going on and the streets are full of blown down trees and wires, or it's the winter and the roads are just, you've got 3 feet of snow out there and it's drifted and you can't go anywhere. And in both cases, you don't have power. So every family, every group, it's going to be individual to them depending on what specific needs are. There are some general things, as you said. Bottled water, we recommend 1 gallon per person per day. Non-perishable food, certainly a first aid kit. You're going to need some sort of lighting, so we recommend obviously flashlights, extra batteries. Not a big fan of candles. There's always a possibility for a secondary disaster when you're dealing with fire. And you certainly want to be able to monitor what's happening out there, so you want to have a portable radio, again, backup batteries for them, but also always remember if those fail, your car has a radio as well. So if it means running out to the driveway every once in a while, the top of the hour, to get the news, that's never a bad idea. And then everybody else is going to be individually different. If you have kids, pets, elderly folks, then you want to think about those types of things you want to have in place for an event. And then the time of year will obviously have an impact. If it's winter time, you lose your power, you're going to lose your heat. So you obviously have to be concerned about knowing where extra blankets are. If you have a generator, know how to do it safely. If you have alternate heating, whether it's a fireplace, whether it's a heater, knowing how to run those things safely. And again, you don't want to put yourself in harm's way by trying to do something good.
So the topic we're talking about now, preparation and safety here in the state of Massachusetts. Here with me right now, we have Peter Judge. When we come back, we're going to be talking about the app that they've just recently installed. It is called Massachusetts Alerts, and we're going to learn more about it right after this break.
This is the training manual for a 747, and these are all the documents the average homeowner signs at closing. Now, no one climbs into the cockpit of a 747 without knowing this inside and out. On the other hand, most people don't even read these, even though they're making the biggest purchase of their lives. In all fairness, it's not easy reading. That's why the Mortgage Bankers Association made this, the Simple Facts. Something you can read and actually understand long before closing. It is not a sales tool, and because it was created by the Mortgage Bankers Association, it doesn't promote any single bank or type of mortgage. It's just designed to help you get the mortgage that makes the most sense for you. Get your copy at homeloanlearningcenter.com. That's homeloanlearningcenter.com. The Simple Facts. The name says it all.
Chill out when you're stealing my things. I wouldn't have to raise my voice if you just give it back and stop being like a criminal.
I don't have your cell phone.
Oh God, look at yourself. What are you offering?
Is this a thief's uniform? You see all these people standing around here? Why am I the one?
I'm sorry, homie, okay?
What?
Don't make this a big deal. Just give it back, okay?
Did you see me?
Yes, and I just know you took it.
Where are your
yourself.
witnesses?
Look at
Where are your witnesses? Did you see me? Did you see me?
Hey, you left us in the bathroom.
Welcome back to the LynnCAM TV Show, a program which focuses on organizations, municipalities, nonprofits, and issues affecting the city of Lynn. Here with me today to discuss safety, public safety in Massachusetts, we have Peter Judge, a public information officer over at the Massachusetts Emergency Management Agency. We'll refer to it as MEMA for here on out to save us some time. But MEMA, what you guys set out to do is make the public aware about what safety precautions that they can make in a state of an emergency. Before the break, we were talking about preparation, what people can do in order to prep for an emergency. So we're going to touch on that a little bit. Prepping for an emergency, we discussed that it's very important. Water, food, clothing, shelter, all that stuff's important. But one thing to stress is that each individual is going to have to prep for themselves, specifically, whether they have pets, whether they have old folks, whether they have medicines that they need. I mean, all that stuff's important to consider. During the break, we were talking about certifications and trainings and anything that MEMA might offer, and you had touched on that there are some local organizations that are out there that are put in place to do just that. Help people become certified in CPR or anything that they may need in a state of emergency. Peter, let's talk about that. These locations, I mean, these organizations, what do they do? What's their function? And what type of training do they offer?
Sure. Well, MEMA offers training to public safety folks at that level. However, we also support on the local level something called CERT teams or community emergency response teams. And there's somewhere over 250 of them throughout the Commonwealth. And they're local in nature. And usually the local emergency management director in every community, and every community has a local emergency management director. Usually they're responsible for setting up the program. But it's great opportunity for folks that want to get involved, that want to be able to assist their community, particularly in time of emergency. And they offer all sorts of training, all sorts of programs, everything from, as you said, whether it's CPR, whether it's assisting in traffic control during an emergency or during the St. Patrick's Day parade. It's people who want to help make themselves available. They're taught a lot of safety opportunities, and it's a very growing opportunity throughout the Commonwealth.
I consider that a responsible citizen right there, because we all understand that emergencies are prevalent. They happen, but they happen when we least expect it, usually after you have a good day, or maybe even after you have a bad day. And the worst case scenario is you get caught in a situation and you're not prepared. And luckily we've got these citizens out there who are taking on that risk to go out and make their difference.
Right. I know in a lot of communities, if we get into a shelter situation, local communities, they're the volunteers. They're the first ones, literally at the door to help, whether it's setting up cots or to hand out food or to to monitor the event. So it's a great responsibility, and most communities couldn't do what they do without their help.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, they're pivotal, especially when it comes to emergencies and disasters, taking care of stuff like that. So let's get into this app, Massachusetts Alert. It's a free app. You can get it at mass.gov/MEMA, M as in Mary, E as in Eric, M as in Mary, A as an apple /mobile app. Again, mass.gov/MEMA/mobile app. It's a free app. You can come down, check up on our TV. Right now, we've got some information about the app, some of the key features, audio alerts. There's 100% protection for your privacy and identity. Also are available links, information, videos. You can share alerts via social media. Some of the alerts that you're going to get are in high weather areas, whether it be a snow emergency, maybe there's a forest fire or a woods fire in your area. This is something to be aware about. Amber alerts, critical info, evacuations, shelter locations, and other safety info. This app, it's new, right?
Well, this latest generation, the Massachusetts Alerts, is new. We've sort of in baby steps moving up to this. We've been fooling around with it a little bit for about 2 years now, but now we've got it exactly how we want it. So now we're really kind of pushing it out there.
So now the app, its main intention, it's pretty obvious what that is, to make our citizens in Massachusetts aware about any emergency that may be out there, whether it's a missing kid or a severe weather alert. Now, there's some other safety info that's going to be available too in this app. Let's talk about that.
Well, first of all, I think the two main characteristics about this app that make it unique or different from a lot of other emergency apps, emergency notifications out there. First of all, is this geofencing ability we have. We are able to literally draw a box around the area we want to notify. Whether it's a statewide event, we draw a box around the whole Commonwealth, or it's a community issue, or even a neighborhood issue. So when we send out the message, the only phones that are going to receive that message are folks who are located within that box. So people aren't being bothered, annoyed by constantly events happening all over the Commonwealth, which really don't have any impact on them.
Right.
So that makes it unique. And the second thing is, we have the ability, even though the initial message is only 180 characters, we have the ability to almost add on, if you will. It's a little button, say more information, and we can add video, maps, pictures, more extensive narratives, press releases, a lot more information as opposed to just your traditional 140 character Twitter and sort of that's it. So, or it doesn't send you somewhere else to get the information. We can send people that information. And we have, up till this point, we've used it in many other levels with weather events. I think the best example of how this works was during with the Boston Marathon manhunt. We had our first generation, and what we did at that point, we literally had the box around the 7 communities in the greater Boston area that were locked down. So we were able to send messages just to those people to tell them about the lockdown, and then ultimately when the lockdown was lifted. So we were able to communicate all throughout the day to folks that were in that box, if you will. And even if you're not there when the message gets sent out, if you come through that in that boxed area, you're going to get that message during the course of the day. So those are the 2 things I think that make it unique. But certainly all the things that you mentioned are real added plus type of things that people can get from this app.
That's quite impressive. I mean, one thing that you're doing is you're centralizing, which is important because you don't want to create mass confusion. You don't need people in Springfield understanding that there's a snow emergency in Lynn. There's no point to it, and it's wasteful. And another thing that it does is it allows you guys to be a little bit more thorough. It allows you to pinpoint, hey, this is you're in this area, this is what you should do. And even if that person's ready, willing, and able to help and volunteer their time and service, they can do that. So that's really neat. Now, the app itself was developed in order to obviously create public safety. Is there anything else to add to why it exists?
Well, again, my job is to get information out to people in as many ways as possible. And there's no single way to get everyone, unfortunately. Obviously, television, radio, the print media, that gets, you can touch a lot of people with that. There are a lot of other people that kind of fall through the cracks. So
right.
We've got very big into social media with our Twitter account, with our Facebook account, and with this. But also, we know we still aren't hitting everyone that we'd like to hit. So, that's why we work with a lot of communities, have their own local, say, reverse 911 type of systems, their own local websites, that sort of thing. So when we push out information, we work with communities to basically piggyback with them to try to push as many ways out as possible. And this app gave us the opportunity to do that and expand on the number of people that we can touch. And obviously, if someone is going to download the app, we know there's someone who's going to be interested in finding out about the information and following up on it.
Yeah, you can send those guys some mail or maybe an email that can let them know what's available for them. Social media is exploded within the past, I'd say even like 4 or 5 years. But it wasn't always around. You had said you'd been with MEMA for 15 years. So before then, what did you guys used to do? Obviously the newspaper was a big one, but it wasn't instant. How would you guys get alerts out?
Is the best way we could. Literally, you're right. You want to go back far enough? We're talking Pony Express, and we're talking, flying pigeons out there, messenger pigeons. But the reality of it is, we use the traditional media.
Yeah.
And TV, radio, the newspaper, and gradually over the years, but that being said, back then, sort of everyone read the newspaper and everybody watched the 6 o'clock news. Now with all the other things that are out there, you know, a lot of, particularly with the social media side and particularly with the websites and stuff like that, you know, those traditional media have lost their audiences as well. So they've gone other places to get their news, to get their information. So we've had to sort of keep up with the times, and hopefully we have.
Now, again, it's important to stress you've been with this organization 15 years. So what that means is that you know it thoroughly, in and out. You've been there. You probably were involved in a lot of the projects that are continuing today and will be ongoing. I mean, 15 years ago, the internet obviously had a presence. I mean, but if you look at the websites back then to what they are now, and social media, I mean, was that a tough transition for you? I mean, what you knew about your job and what you were supposed to provide, I mean, you're slapped with this new generation of technology. I mean, it's like, how did you adapt?
Initially, I thought, oh my goodness, this is one more thing I've got to do, and it's going to be, you know, it's going to make my job harder. And the reality of it is, it's made my job so much easier. I can instantly send information out, you know, on an immediate basis. And you know, we have about 75,000 followers between our Twitter and our Facebook account. And a large majority, not a large majority, but a large number of them are the local media themselves. So historically, instead of talking on the phone to a lot of them pushing out information, we post something and instantly they all know how many power outages there are on the North Shore. Just because we kind of, you know, they know every hour we're going to post that information up there, and they know where to go to. They don't have to have Jimmy the intern on the phone every hour, you know, trying to, you know, contact me to get the latest numbers.
Today, social media is like it's a job front. I mean, there are a lot of people out there who are specializing in just social media. And like you had said, at first it seems a bit overwhelming. And it was. I mean, it was overwhelming.
It was.
Even as a student, I remember right when I got into Framingham, they had this thing called Blackboard. And it was a messaging center where you could send like little messages. And I was just like, wow, this is so cool. And then Facebook came into play. I was like, Blackboard, what was that? I mean, Facebook is quite amazing. But the important thing is to point out, my grandparents, they are on Facebook. They're not on Twitter or anything like that, but they've got Gmail and all that. And at first, you know, it was like, oh, we got to get a computer and we have to learn how to use this thing. And it seems just so overwhelming, but these tools are actually put into place to help us and make things easier, just like you said. So we got about 5 minutes left in the program. This app, like you had said, came into development about 2 years ago. You were playing around with it. You got your first test during the Boston scare, and when those guys were on the run, you could let those locations know, hey, stay in your homes. These guys are armed, they're dangerous. Are there any expectations that you think are going to come about this in the future?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's obviously, right now, we've got somewhere in the vicinity of just under maybe 50,000 people who have downloaded this app, you know, from the previous app and the new Mass Alerts app. So our expectation, our hope is that, you know, that number will grow, and therefore, you know, we're going to be able to touch people and maybe expand the opportunities to touch people. I mean, as you said, Amber Alerts we can push out. Weather, we have access to national weather. And the nice thing about the national weather notices, people can basically check off, decide what level they want to be notified at. There are some, you know, weather geeks that want to know if there's an advisory, you know, let me know if there's an advisory. And other people say, well, if it's a watch, but if it's a warning, tell me, that sort of thing. The only two things that will override if there's an imminent life-threatening weather event like a tornado or a flash flooding event, even if you have don't tell me any weather, you're going to get a notification on that weather, you know, and 24/7. So that's the only thing that will be something you didn't ask for, so to speak. But you'll be happy you got it if you did get it. If you're in the eye of that type of storm.
Right, and it's, you know, at the time when you're downloading the app, it's like, maybe this isn't for me. And then you're like, put your phone down. You're like, yeah, maybe I should have that, and you get it. So it's important to have. Peter Judge, everybody, Public Information Officer. Peter, thanks for being on the program today. He's with Massachusetts Emergency Management Agency. They've got a new app Massachusetts Alert. You can download it at mass.gov/MEMA/mobile app. Get it soon, get it fast, so you can stay up to date as to what's going on in the state of Massachusetts. From the LynnCAM TV studio, that's the LynnCAM TV show. I'm Sean Donahue, wishing you all the best.